Slack channel.
Yeah, I'll do that. Well, I mean, people can access Slack if they don't have Wi-Fi. Yeah, so welcome to VR Bootcamp. My name is Philippe, and there's a few people that feeling under the weather today, I'm sure, but that's okay. The best part about this is that we're screen recording everything. So, you know, at the end of every class, I will just send everyone a link to the video after. If you ever miss anything or you need to get reminded of anything, it's cool. I'm the founder of Anyworld. Anyworld is a VR agency, a VR studio. We create all sorts of VR experiences, 360 videos, virtual tours, Unity development in general and stuff. Yeah, and today you guys are part of what we call VR Bootcamp. So this is a beginner VR Bootcamp. You don't need to know any, you wouldn't, even if you've never coded before, if you've never used Unity before, any of that stuff, that's okay. We're going to try to make it like very fun and productive anyway. And hopefully everyone will, you know, by the end of this, you should have a VR experience running on your smartphone. We will have VR goggles for everyone to use as well, so you don't have to worry about that stuff. So yeah, just to kind of go over it. So day one, you know, students will learn all the basic Unity editor features, how to navigate the program. You know, that's why I'm sure a bunch of people didn't come today, didn't need to, because this is like the very basic stuff. But still, even if you've done some of this, I'm sure you'll learn some other cool stuff today too. But yeah, so then day two, so tomorrow what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a VR music video. So I'm gonna show you just some very simple Unity things and some cool assets that you can use to make your own VR music video. So the best part about this course is that no one's gonna have the same thing on their computer. So everyone's is gonna be slightly different. You're gonna use maybe a different layout, different character, different song. So that's the idea. And then this week's homework will be, you know, after we just cover the basics today and just some VR music video stuff tomorrow, to make your own VR music video at home. So you use your own characters, your own song, and you know, hopefully, you know, you bring that in. And then yeah, so then the week after that, you know, we're gonna first review the homework, and if anyone had any trouble with that, and then, you know, we'll get into the basics of scripting. So you will learn some programming in this, and it's gonna be very simple. It's very powerful and intuitive. Once you see how Unity does it, you won't want to code in anything else. Almost, it's very intuitive. And then yeah, on the fourth day, we'll create something even more fun. So a little bit like VR physics, and we'll be doing that with kind of like a soccer demo, kind of like a goalie demo. So that's like a cool way it's a great way to teach triggers and collisions. Like, you know, the ball goes through the net, so then you have to detect that the ball went through the net, and then, you know, you fire off an event. So very simple stuff. And then yeah, so then to finalize with day 5 and day 6. So day 5 we're gonna do level design and storytelling. So we're gonna really learn what it takes to tell a story in VR. So you know, how the player moves, visual cues, and etc. And then day 6 we're gonna wrap it up with the VR shooting game. So we're gonna do shooting mechanics, and that's even going to cover a little bit of AI, so some enemies, very basic enemies. And then Unity makes it very easy to do pathfinding, so the enemies can just can find you. So overall, it's going to be a very knowledge-packed VR bootcamp, but we're going to keep it all very simple. None of the code that we're going to write, even in the later days, is going to reach past 4 or 5 lines per thing. So you're gonna see how simple it is. But yeah, other than that, yeah. So I sent out like a little form. If y'all can fill this out. You don't have to do it right now. You can do it after. But if you do, I'd appreciate it. Just so I could kind of have some information on everyone and what your experience level is and etc.
Profile on Anyworld, or
what?
Is that on anyworld.com or on the
Oh, I think the thing I emailed, the form, But this, if you want the syllabus is on both. I emailed it and I put it on Slack. So yeah, and then I will go slow. If you have any questions, just raise your hand, and Nico will come over to just help you out. So she's the assistant teacher, and yeah, to get you back up to speed. But in general, I'll kind of go for a few minutes, and then I'll come around and make sure everyone's on the same page, and then we'll kind of continue. So even if you kind of miss a click or two, don't worry, we'll get you back up to speed.
How do you access the video once the class is over?
So they'll be uploaded to YouTube, and yeah, I'll have a link for everyone. Yeah.
And also in the news section on the Bootcamp, right? That's where I found it first.
Yeah. So yeah, we post them up there. We post them up. Like, you'll definitely find it. we'll definitely contact you with it somehow. Yeah, see, I'm already recording, so everything gets screen recorded. Everything that I do, I could even show you how to screen record it on your own end if you'd like. But yeah, so without further ado, hopefully everyone has Unity installed. So let's just fire up Unity, right? So you open up Unity, and you might see something like this. You might see the learn, or you might see the get started, and it'll have like a cool little get started video here. So we're just gonna skip all of that, and we're gonna make a new project. So you see right here where it says new. So just click that new button, and here it's gonna kind of give you some details about the project. So our project name, we're just gonna name it, something like VR Bootcamp. And since I have a couple of these already, mine's gonna be like VR Bootcamp 3 or something. But you can name it VR Bootcamp, the name of the project. And then once you have the name of the project that you want, you click Create Project.
Could you help? I can't even get on my internet.
Oh, you're not on the internet?
It says connected, but it's not.
All right. Well, how about let's just wait a few more minutes and make sure everyone is on the internet. So I'm gonna write it right here too, in case everyone missed it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
So the Wi-Fi password. So the Wi-Fi is TWGuess, and let's begin. Heart with the spaces. Sauce. Editor. Hopefully that's not too small for terrible handwriting.
So do you take the mission of Twitter?
Duncan, can you grab like a water or something? Yeah. Yeah, so just let me know when everyone's online and got their Unity up and running.
I connected before, but it said no internet.
Figure out the Windows problem.
It definitely is probably how you typed it in. Could you open up, I'll show you.
See, I'm here now. After all of this. Did you create it?
So, here's what you're going to do. This is sometimes a Windows thing. So you're going to right-click the Wi-Fi right here, open Network and Sharing Center, then you go to Change Adapter Settings, and then you right-click this, you disable it, and then you right-click it and you enable it again. And then once the Wi-Fi adapter restarts, did yours work?
Yeah. You have to see the screen there. It says new project. And you have to update the
We need to forget it.
Forget the password? No,
Oh,
open it.
I think.
No, we have to say that.
Do you phone you could tether maybe?
Yeah.
It might be, sometimes it does that when you don't type it in right the first time, and then it just like keeps trying it.
Okay.
But it seems to be connected. I'm just trying to find the IP address. He's doing something interesting. Yeah, you want to just tether your phone. I'm not sure if I still know. So yeah, we won't use that much internet today anyway.
You make people forget that the things.
I had the same thing happen at some point. Okay. So just open up Unity. Close this.
I'm downloading.
No, I know, but
Fine.
close this. And help him out. Get started.
You want me to download my Unity and play it?
I think he has it.
See how fast this is first. I should close.
Yeah, and I'll have a list of things for y'all to have installed by tomorrow too. So yeah, just make sure you have it installed when you come in class, and then we can usually just get started right away. Because the 1 o'clock time is when I usually just kind of like to open it and just start. Yeah, but it's okay. Yes. So yeah, I'll just start going here. Yeah, so once you have it typed out here, all you do is click create project, and Unity will create a new project in your files.
You are 3D right now,
3D. So yours might look a little bit different than mine. I'm gonna make it look the same here. So it's probably gonna look like this, except yours is probably gonna be like white gray. Mine is like a dark skin. Don't be scared. That's like just because I'm using the pro version, and it's good on the eyes when it's dark. So, you think we should close these? There are a bunch of people out there. Thanks, guys. All right. So, what you're probably going to be greeted with first here, that you're going to notice, is this 3D view here in the middle, right? So this is a good time if you're running on a Mac and you don't have a mouse with you, I recommend that you bind the right side of your touchpad, like that's right click. So just kind of go into the mouse settings on Mac.
Go to the touchpad settings?
The touchpad settings, yeah, because we're going to be using a lot of right click. So a lot of Mac users I know like to do the double tap to right click thing. So when you're working with Unity, you're going to need to hold right click often to do certain functions. So yeah, if you just don't have a mouse, it's good to bind the right side of your touchpad. So you wanna find that for them real quick.
Okay.
So, and for those of you that do have right click, so this is the primary mode of looking around. You hold right click in this viewer right here, and you enter free look mode. You'll see maybe your cursor will switch to kind of an eye like this. So this is something that I want all of you to get really comfortable with. Is navigating around in 3D space, the Unity way. So the Unity way, it's kind of it's oriented almost towards games. So the best way to navigate around is to hold right click in here and use WASD to go around, just like a first person shooter. So W is forward, S is backwards like this. So just, it kind of like, the WASD is almost like the arrow keys. You can kind of see it there. And you know, you kind of use your right hand to hold right click and your left hand to WASD around.
But it only works if you right.
So if you hold right click, and that's when you're kind of in navigation mode. Yep. When you're not holding right click, that's when it enters into shortcut mode, and we'll explain that in a second. So yeah, this is something that's very important to get comfortable with. So you know, that's one way of doing it. You can also use the scroll wheel. So the scroll wheel zooms you in and out. And if you have a mouse, again, you can use the middle mouse to pan. So some of you might be comfortable with that. But I recommend definitely the best way to do it, right click and WASD around. So did y'all bind your right sides? Okay, great. And this is good, right? So you can hold right click in here and go around. So that's that, right? So this is the 3D view. This is kind of like the main place where you're going to be creating all of your VR content. Now what I want to do is I want you to click on the light right here. So you should probably see the sun in here somewhere. If you don't see it in your view, maybe look around until you find it. And you'll notice that when you click it, these kinds of, you know, gizmos appear, and some stuff here on the right kind of shows up more information.
I already have it.
So if you do not see the light, another way of finding it is over here on the left side. You see the hierarchy? So you can kind of expand this. Now what this is basically everything that you have in your scene currently is up here on this list on the left. So right now we just have a camera and a light. So you see when I click one of them gets highlighted over here too. So say you can't find your light, you can just double click the light right here, directional light, and it'll center the view on that. So these things are linked. So everything that you have in your scene in 3D, you also have here on your left in the hierarchy. So that's kind of like the list of objects that we currently have in our scene. So let's just do something really simple right now and just create our first object, right? So let's create a floor. And the way that you do that is up here in these navigation components. You see where it says game object? Click game object up here in the top menus. You have file, edit, assets, game object, right? So click up here and then go to 3D object and then find plane. And when you click plane, you should see something like this. You should see a white plane get created. So game object, 3D object, plane. So once we have our plane, now what I want to do is I want to apply like some texture to this plane. So I want to make it look nice. And one of the fastest way to really do that in Unity is just open up your favorite web browser and just Google images and just Google something like grass texture. So
How do you go up and down?
so when you hold
It's
right
not a whole
click,
project where
Yeah,
I
I have
Windows
that.
look right.
so what do you want? It's all here. Yeah. If you wanna go closer, right?
Yes, I want to see how.
So you can so if you hold right click and you just go forward, give it the W. See, this is like the arrow keys. See?
Where I Anderson, W.
Yeah. So if you want to go closer to
Oh,
it, you
that's
hold
fine.
right click and you just kind of keep holding. Think of it as if you're like kind of flying through the space, right? And if you want to go up and down,
But
you
it's
can also use
fine.
the Q and the
There is money
E.
through the
So it's all here, kind of like that.
Yeah, I already took the class.
So yeah, open up your favorite web browser
Yes, yes.
and go to Google Images and Google something like grass texture. And try to find one that's square like this, and that means usually that it's tileable. And I'll explain what that means in a second. But yeah, just grab one that looks good to you. The square ones usually work better. And view image. They don't exclusively have to be square though. And then once you kind of have the full version of your image like this, just save it like to your desktop, just like that. Like just right click and save image as, or just drag it however you want. Once you have the file of the image that you like, to import it into Unity, it's as simple as just pulling it into Unity, just drag and dropping it. So all you have to do is drag this grass texture into this bottom area right here, which is called the project view. So when you just drag and release, you should see the grass texture just show up here in your projects. So it's super duper easy to import stuff into Unity, and it's really just a drag and drop process. And to get this grass texture on our plane, once it's here in our project view, you just drag it onto the plane from the project like that. Hello.
Yeah, it still wouldn't connect. It says connected, no internet. So, like the password worked, but I don't know.
You can't tether? You want to tether on
I
mine?
can, it's just not super fast.
Hey, do you want to tether for him?
I don't know if it was-
Are you? Is it because you're downloading Unity right now?
No, I tried to switch back to this network, and
Did you try you said there's an
Ethernet?
yeah,
Yeah,
try
can- the only one is connected to the router over there that I see. Is there another one in the building?
Ethernet? Yeah. Yeah, so just open up Unity if you already have it installed.
yeah, no, she only has to install it. You need to.
So the grass is 2D. Is there a way to make it 3D?
Yes, there is. We're just doing like just a simple example, just showing you how you can put a texture on an object.
Okay.
But yeah, there is a way to do it in Unity to make it 3D.
You restarting?
Yep. Basic IT.
Alright, so now what you can do with this plane is, so there's a few tools that you can use in Unity. When you click on an object, like when you click on the plane in here or in here in the hierarchy, you'll probably notice these arrows show up. You can pull by these arrows with the mouse to move the plane in the direction that you want. So if you grab by the actual colored part of the arrow, you're gonna be dragging in the area that you're going at there. Then you can use the rotate tool. Is up. So this is the move tool. Up here is the rotate tool. See, the rotate tool looks a little bit different. It's kind of got these rotational gizmos. It's the same thing. If you grab by these color-coded, you might not see the green so well because it's kind of the grass is green as well. But this is how you rotate objects.
So you come before download it, come back here, and you get the other like this, and then like this. Does that work?
Yep.
Like one out of every 10,000 times people have this problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And the third one is the scale tool. So, and with the scale tool, you can actually scale this plane like this, just by grabbing the middle. So that's what I want you to do right now. I want you to switch to this scale tool, and I want you to scale this plane up, make it bigger. So we want a bigger floor for this level. Now, get with it.
So I rotated my plane.
So if you want to get it back to where it was, you can undo just by Control Z, or yeah, you can just keep undoing to get it back. Or if you notice here on the right side, once you have an object selected, you see where it says transform here? You'll see it has values of X, Y, and Z in the position and the rotation. Yeah, so if you want the rotation back to its starting point, just make all those 0. So you'll notice when we were scaling as well, when I scale this up, you'll see how these numbers of the scale here increase. So I want you to just make it 5. So you know we can all get like an accurate scale. So basically this whole right side here is called the inspector. So whenever you have any object selected Can you make sure that she's also up to speed because she just walked in? So you'll notice that over here on the right is basically all the properties of the object that we currently have selected. So yeah, the only thing that we're changing here is just the scale of our plane. We're making it something like 5, 5, and 5. Okay. So showed you how you can import these assets. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another 3D object, and again we're gonna do it's the same as how we did the plane. You just go here to game object, 3D object, and sphere. Now your sphere, you might not see it immediately. That's okay, it's probably got spawned under the plane. So just switch to the move tool right here and just pull the sphere up out of the ground. So make sure you're switched into the move tool and just kind of like pull it up here. If you want to center your view on the sphere, just double click the sphere right here in the hierarchy. And again, get used to just holding this right click and kind of strafing around it. So use, like go side to side of it, and you can see how easily you could navigate around an object like this. So now that we made our plane 5 by 5 scale, so we made it a little bit bigger. Our texture is pretty stretched, so you can kind of see that the grass is kind of stretchy here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually modify the properties of this texture, and it's really simple to do that. So if you just click on the plane that has the grass, you'll notice here on the right side of the plane's properties, you'll have the grass material right here on the right. And that's automatically created when we pulled in our texture earlier. There's a bunch of properties here. You see like something like smoothness. See if you modify the smoothness here, it will change that. So I want no smoothness on the grass. So just make that 0. You find this menu just by clicking here on our grass plane. And over here on the right side, you should see this little arrow right here where you can expand the material settings.
What does smoothness actually do?
So smoothness, you'll see like later on, it actually makes it like smooth and kind of reflective. So you might not see it here because the plane is kind of flat, but yeah, you'll see it later when we do it on the sphere. So all I want to do here is I want to change the tiling of this texture.
So how do you get that big menu up on the side there?
This one? So if you just click on the plane, you see that? So what I want you to look at is down here, the tiling. You see this where it says X1 and Y1? So if you just change that to something like 5, you see how it'll start multiplying it here? So I want that just to be 5 by 5. And then you'll kind of see how this texture will multiply.
Yeah, I was actually going to load the color.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so yeah, it's basically kind of the same thing. Right? You got your
Yeah, I was gonna. I also started making object and textures around the same way.
It's fine. Look at my
Yeah.
circle, like it's not in the wrong.
Yeah, you can do. You can be multiplying them and stuff. Like
Yeah, you just pull it. It's like play with it.
yeah. It's you could. That's kind of what I'm showing right now too. It's like the different properties. You could tweak these textures and make them look more detailed. You'll all see. We're going to be doing some cooler grass stuff.
They're different from what's in the game.
I just want you to
So if
click
want
on the
create
plane,
anything in the game, you
and
have to
if you
go
just
here.
scroll down here, so this is the properties of the material, right? I want the tiling
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
5 by
right
5.
click here.
So you see when you do 5 by 5, it'll multiply the texture. See that? You can make it 10 by 10,
Here.
but we want it kind of like just the right amount.
Name that for a second.
So yeah, the main map, because
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is in the main
you
map.
can
You
try
get
to
it?
just get comfortable.
Yeah, you
with
see that?
navigating.
So, yeah, so don't be afraid to play with it. You know, tweak the
Right.
numbers, and you'll see how
Scaling
it actually
you know,
affects
moving
it.
it
I
around.
feel like the little ball.
Yeah.
So click the sphere, and I think your sphere is somewhere very far. I see the position.
Okay.
So just zero that out. Just make the position. Yeah, just zero on all of them. And now if you just double click it here again.
Yeah.
And what about the plane? Same thing. Yeah. So your plane is a little bit over there. So you know you can do it. Yeah. That's it.
So we're moving it horizontally.
What about something every day now?
Is there a way to move manually at this point?
Yeah, so you could click it and then drag by the arrows. So you could if you want to be more precise with it, drag by the specific directional arrow. And that way you'll kind of lock it in that position. So and always just get used to centering your camera where you are, so you don't just by double clicking it. I mean your view.
Okay.
So double click on the plane, for example,
I say like you don't know where it is, select the plane.
and then hold right click. Yeah.
Well, always do the back to your object.
Okay.
And then just get yourself used to navigate around. I recommend you getting a mouse.
Mouse,
Right.
mouse, okay.
Like a mouse, it's a lot faster.
Yeah, it works without a mouse too, though.
Sorry, hey,
Yeah. Yeah. So you're already.
okay, cool. So if I want to reposition to the center, is it this one, right? If I want to make that center like you.
Oh, so what I do is you could double click the object. So if you just double click the sphere, for example, you'll see that your camera will kind of center on it. Now you'll notice that your sphere might actually not be on the plane itself. It just looks like it is. So if you hold right click, that's kind of how you look around. And while you're holding right click, you can actually navigate around this. So you can see that it's actually kind of above, right? And then you could. So you just kind of get used to navigating around, so you can see. It's always better to look at it from multiple angles, and then you can really see if it's actually placed on or not.
Can I, instead of just trying to look at it by looking at it, can I just click on the plane, which is positioned to 0, and then move this ball to the same position, so it's at the same.
Yeah, you can also move it as well here. You can move the ball to
Like to
0 as well.
Right,
Yeah, so you
it'll
can make
be
it,
on the plane.
and then it'll be exactly in the middle like that. Yeah, you're good. So make your plane 5 by 5 scale. Oh, is your ball really big then? Okay, yeah, because I noticed. So we're just gonna go ahead and also just add some detail to our ball here. So again, today just very, very simple, very laid back. I just really want you, like if you're kind of already caught up to the grass texture stuff, I just want you to really get comfortable with this. Like if you can do this, like if you can do a 360 around an object like this, it's very easy. You just hold right click and you kind of go like left, for example, like this. And as you're going left, you turn your mouse a little bit right. So it's almost like, think of like as if you're walking around an object, you kind of go and then you turn to face it. And then if you just kind of get used to doing this, you'll have a lot easier time in Unity by just, kind of going around and being able to see the objects very easily like this. So this is also just a matter of practice as well, and the more you use Unity, the more you'll get really comfortable with navigating around in this 3D environment. Just remember, right click in this 3D view gives you this first person look where you can look around, and then by using these WASD keys you can navigate around your object like this. So yeah, just get really comfortable with doing that, and we're just gonna kind of go ahead and download another material for our sphere. So again, if you just open your favorite web browser, and this time I want you to Google a marble texture and go to Google Images. Again, you don't actually have to Google a marble texture. If you want to Google a wood texture, that works too. It's totally up to you. And then I'm gonna download a texture that I like here, like this one for example. So you can save image as, or you just drag it on your desktop somewhere. Another way to import assets into Unity, you can of course always drag and drop, but some people prefer to right click here. So this whole bottom part is the project. This is where all your files are. So you can also right click and import new asset. There's a little menu right there, and that will give you like a file browser like this. And that's another way you can pull it up, and you can just double click the image that you want. So yeah, all I want you to do is just get that marble texture in there. Now you should have two. You should have a grass texture and a marble texture. You might be able to assume how this next part goes. Drag the marble texture onto the sphere, like this. And you should get something like this. Okay, also don't worry if your sky doesn't look like this, or some of the lighting might be a little bit different. We're gonna tweak all of that. But yeah, at this point you should just have this grassy plane and this little marble texture.
You need to drag it to a specific area.
So if you just drag it on top of the 3D object, oh, you mean the texture or the?
Texture onto the object.
Yeah, so you can drag it onto the object itself in 3D here. You can also drag it in here onto the name of the object. And there's another way to create a material as well. And you can do that by right clicking in here and create material as well. But we don't have to do that right now. Welcome.
Okay.
VR Bootcamp? Yeah, VR Bootcamp, yeah. We already got started. Yeah, just grab a seat wherever you want. So now what I want you all to do is we're gonna add a little bit more details to this marble texture, and I'm gonna show you a really quick and easy Unity way to kind of just boost the details on this. So this is how you do it, right? So over here in the project, I want you to right click on this marble texture. And if you're on Mac, it will say Show in Finder. For me, it says Show in Explorer. If you're in Windows, just click that, Show in Finder or Show in Explorer. And you'll notice it'll open up the folder where your project is actually held on your computer. Usually, for Windows users, it's in My Documents, and then the name of my project.
So I'm sorry, it's open?
So it should say Show in Finder or something like that. You just right-click it. View in Finder, sorry. Okay, Show in Explorer, View in Finder. Reveal in Finder. Okay, so it should say, right click on it, it should say Reveal in Finder or Show in Finder or something like that. And what that'll do basically, it'll open up the folder that the file is being stored. And now here, you could like show thumbnails or however your machine works. But all I actually want to do is I want to take this marble texture and I want to right click copy and right click paste to just make a duplicate of it. Like I just want to duplicate the file basically. So if you just want to get up to speed, we just basically got a plane and a sphere going. And did you look at any of the beginner material that I sent out, the email? Okay. Do you want to get a map to speed?
He's downloading.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So and then before the class ends today, I'll have stuff for all of you to download tomorrow, just so that you're not coming in here and then downloading for a little bit, because it could take a while, especially on public Wi-Fi's and stuff and guest networks.
You can just download it in class for tomorrow.
We could do that too. So yeah, basically just you should be seeing 2 copies of your files here in your Finder. Then when you just click back into Unity, Unity will update right here. You'll see that it has 2 files. So just keep in mind, like anything that you do in Unity, if you create like a new texture or something like that, it has an equivalent somewhere on your computer, like it's in a folder somewhere. And the same goes as like if you're in that folder and you, for example, add a new file, you go back into Unity, Unity will update it and they'll both show up here. So now you should have 2 marble textures like this. So for one of them, what we're going to do is we're going to do a special conversion on it to create it into a bump map, so we can have kind of like a little bumpy marble texture, just an effect. So pick whichever one you want here, usually the second one, the one that says copy. Just click it like this, and on the right side here you see all the kind of settings on that texture. Now we don't want any of these. What we're interested here is when you go to texture type default right here, this drop down, I want you to select normal map like that. So yeah, just have your texture selected. Oops. Have your texture selected, and then go over here, normal map. And then this little checkbox right here, create from grayscale, check that on. And the bumpiness, we don't want it very bumpy. We want it very low. So something like 0.01 or something like that.
What does that mean?
So what we're basically doing is we're making this texture black and white, and we're taking that black and white data to create something that's called a normal map. And you'll see what happens when we click apply here. So yeah, all you have to do is just normal map and create from grayscale, make it not very bumpy. If you leave it bumpy, it's still fine. You click apply.
The bumpy effect is like really.
Yeah. So then you'll see that your texture now is turned into kind of like this bluish purple texture. And this is a special type of texture that you use in 3D and in VR to basically give more surface details to your objects. So we're actually going to use that on our marble sphere here. So now if I click back to my marble sphere and I open the sphere's material, which always shows up right here, just you can click this little arrow right here to open it. You should see it has this texture here. It has an albedo. Now what we want is this one where it says normal map right here. There's 2 ways you could pull a texture into Unity. You could drag it from here, and watch what I'm doing. So I can just drag it in here into the slot for normal map, or you can click this little circle right here, right next to where the texture slot is, and it'll show you like a little browser, and you can select that texture too the same way. And now you'll notice that our marble sphere kind of has a little bit more detail. You see that? It has bump. You can affect the amount of bumpiness by just modifying this number right here, right next to it. And I'm gonna come around and make sure everyone's got this normal map stuff. It just basically generates. It's a way to auto-generate, but then you'll also see that that's actually how you import normal maps from 3D Max or from anything. You have to check like, is normal map.
Are we still downloading? It's okay. We'll have the video up later too, so we can watch it.
So I can't tell whether it's hard enough because it's got the wire.
Yeah, so don't click it. Like if you just click out of it, you can see it. So just.
I can't even tell. So how do you zoom like that?
So I just hold right click. So just try. Oh, do you have your mouse here too?
Yeah.
How does that
If
actually
you
work?
like the bump,
It
it's
doesn't-
like
it doesn't
really,
click.
really, you can see it's
Do
like
these ever? Does this one have the right click
like
inside on it? These don't. Right?
So the thing inside like that,
Oh, yeah, I think the Mighty Mouse
I
does.
don't know, I don't know how to.
So yeah, so
do
just
it.
hold right click,
It's okay,
and then with
just
your
be
left
like,
hand,
like your
use
ball, like,
the
all the
W
way
key to get closer to it.
And
then you can use, if you want, so while you're navigating, you always want to be holding right click.
No,
Here.
it is, but
You hold
the
right
ball,
click.
like,
So hold right, you can see how that it turns into an eye, and then you can look around with it. Yeah, and if you want to go up and down, same thing, hold right click, and then you can use Q and E.
It's like this ball
So if you
being
roll it
like
down, so
right
it
here.
goes back up,
I
yeah.
don't know why.
Yours is
I
a
don't know
lot
how I
of,
do.
I'm sure, whatever you call
So
it,
you get
yeah, bumpiness.
So you
Yeah.
And I
right
can't
to the
tell
beat, you
mine,
know.
can you increase the decrease?
Yeah, so you can
Remember.
click it right
And
there.
then you
Just with the
put-
sphere, yeah, with left, yeah.
You see
And
the
then over
keys,
here,
got
you
the
see
ball
that
right
number,
here,
so you can either change that number, or when you hold a little bit right next to the number, you see, yeah, you see the little arrows?
You see the
And then
number
once you
there?
pull it left
Like
and right,
there already.
so you can hold
Turn it
that,
up.
see that?
You can compare and contrast.
Now, with this normal map, for me to see it, it might be,
Yeah. You can like.
yeah, it's the
degree
type,
and
it's
see
the
it gets
texture
bigger.
to choose.
So you
But, you know,
choose the
maybe if
number
you increase the bumpiness here.
and then just like.
Yeah, you can, now you can see it, see that? So it really depends on the normal
You're like
texture.
playing Lego, you know.
And then this will actually react to light and stuff.
It's fine.
You'll-
You're
you'll see
still
this later.
intimidating yourself because it's really easy.
Yeah, we'll see it in a second.
So just try to pull it around to get used to.
So she's
the
got,
environment.
nice, so you got wood, good.
Yes, she's showing her can.
Yes, if you look at it really close, you can really see it. So if you just get closer to the wood, so like that, or with the, so hold right click and just W, or mouse wheel, yeah. But really get used to doing this, I highly recommend. So every time you just hold right click, yeah, and then just get used to moving in and out of the scene. So if you want to look at it from behind, right? You hold right click and just little by little. So use your left hand. So you feel free to use both hands. Yeah. So then just straight. So hold right click and then just go like left or right and then turn a little bit. So just turn your mouse. It's kind of like you go and then you turn. You get it? So turn. So kind of like pull your computer a little bit away from it and then. You know, don't be afraid to grab the mouse and lift your hand and then put it right back over here to kind of to go further. See, so you can go like this, and if you reach the end, you know, you can just lift the mouse and then do that. It's just a little bit of habit. But see, I do this. I just do very little. Like I click like this and I look over a little bit. So this whole time I'm you see that? And even if you leave the screen, it still works. So I just go little by little, and I keep turning the mouse. So that's how you can kind of go around it. See that? And then you can look at it from every angle. So just try that. Yeah, he's getting the hang of it. But that's very important. You have no idea how important that is. I see people that are even months into Unity, and they still haven't had enough practice with just moving around in the 3D space. And I've seen people waste a lot of time because they repositioned something and they thought it was perfect, but then they look at it from another angle and it's actually like somewhere else. So yeah. Now be careful with the normal map effect. It's not supposed to be too drastic of an effect. So you're in the same place. Some students have a moon. That looks pretty cool. So yeah, you know, if you use something like a cratered up moon texture or something like that, you can make these things look pretty cool. But I just use marble for you know, just a test. Now, if you notice, if you click this marble texture too, now if I tweak the smoothness setting, now you might actually be able to see the difference. When you make something smoother, you see how it becomes almost like, if you make it more metallic and smoother, you can almost see it becomes kind of like reflective, like this, metallic. So if you make it fully metallic and fully smooth, you basically make it like almost like reflective. But that's totally up to you. If you got like a wood texture, for example, it should just be slightly metallic and just slightly smooth. Or if you really want like polished wood, then you go for more smooth and etc. So, let's see here. So, now I want to introduce you to just our first simple interaction, right? So we want this ball to have some physics. So we want this ball to be able to fall with gravity and bounce off other balls and etc. If you notice right now, if you press play, right here in the top, this is how you start your program in Unity. Now, what you might see is, it'll take a second. Don't worry. You might see something like this, or you might see something completely different. This is basically showing whatever the camera is showing. So my camera is kind of facing that way. So you notice up here you have scene and you have game. You see that up here? So scene is your current scene where you're working on stuff and editing and moving around objects, etc. Game is basically the view that is going to be on on the phone, or when you export your project, it's going to kind of run through this lens of whatever shows up in game here. So what I just want to show you really quick before we do the physics stuff is I want to show you the Unity editor is completely extensible, so you can move any part of the editor into any other part. So I like to recommend that people grab this game view, and you can grab it by grabbing this tab. You see that? You just grab, so I want you to just grab this tab and just drag it, and you can see it kind of wants to stick to different places. I want to stick it down here. So just do that right now and let go, and then you'll see now you'll have two views like this. So what this allows me to do is allows me to edit the world and view the preview down here as well at the same time. And just so you know, this works for any of the other tabs as well. Also, if you have like multi-monitors, for example, you could pull another part of the screen onto another monitor and stuff. It's really made to be like a very powerful tool, and you could kind of set it up in any way that you like. So again, if this view isn't the same for you, that's fine. So what you can actually do is, you see where your camera is? So it should be called main camera here in the scene. You can take this main camera and watch, if I pull it, so if I just use the move tool and I pull it by one of the arrows, like the Z, you can see that the preview is changing. So that's basically wherever the camera is looking. So we're not even going to be using the camera right now that much yet, but if you just want for fun, just take your camera and kind of center it a little bit, kind of like this, so it has a sphere in its center view. And then if you use the rotate tool, you can actually just get closer. Make sure that when you move and you rotate, that you don't see, if you move by this middle part right here, then I don't really have control over where I'm moving it. I can be moving it in and out, left and right. The best way to move and rotate things is to grab by the individual arrow, and that way you can be sure that you're only moving in one direction. By using the rotate tool, I can take this camera and kind of slant it down a little bit just by dragging by this little red line here. On your side, it might be a different line. So see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of facing it a little down like that. And now I kind of got this sphere in center view, and the camera kind of looking at it. So just get closer to it. So just maybe double click over here, like this. Just double click it. Yeah, and you can also and then just zoom yourself in. Yeah. And then grab the main camera. Yeah, and then just look around to find it. So hold right click. Maybe you're still holding right click here. Yeah. It's just a matter of having. You can look around. And there it is. Yeah. Then grab by the arrow. Yeah, so you move it forward, and you move it. Yeah. So you see how it's updating down there? So yeah, careful with grabbing by the middle, because when you grab by the middle, you move in all the directions, right? If you grab just by one direction, then you're 100% sure you're only going left, right, up and down. So maybe, yeah, you can pull it like, maybe put your sphere like in the middle. So just look over a little bit with the mouse. Hold right click. And then
so if I want
Yeah,
to
something like that.
I guess I
Yeah.
want to tilt down and
And then take the
Yeah.
camera,
So-
move it up maybe a
now
little
you're
bit.
like tilting down and then I
Yeah,
guess
and then use the rotate tool. So use the
Remember
rotate.
now it's
and then
like
kind of
the,
pull it.
the axis is
See by
global,
the-
so
Yeah, not by that one, but they're kind
we
of
can
thin.
tell the
You
difference
see the
between
red
local
one?
and global. Local
Yeah.
axis means it's all up axis of this
Yeah,
object
careful.
itself.
So just
Like this
if
is
you ever do
up.
something wrong, you can
And then
always just
global means
undo.
you're doing the
You can go
global,
edit.
like,
Oh, I
axis.
can?
Yeah, and undo.
This is like
See?
axis.
Or you see the shortcut is Command Z, so you can use Command Z
So if you
to
are
undo.
saying
See that?
Okay.
And it'll just take you back a
Local
few
is
steps.
the direction
So
of this
take
game object.
so if you hold right click
direction
and just
of-
kind of
Of the
like
game object.
go
Yeah.
yeah, turn a little bit there.
Of the
Turn up,
camera.
yeah, now you got the good view, right? So now you
Camera
grab the
right.
rotate. Yeah, you got it there already.
Front
And now
and
grab
back.
just by the little red line. You see that? Yeah. And see now you can turn it up or down.
Right.
Turn it a little bit down.
You say you're gonna-
So as if the camera wants to look down. Yeah, like that.
Say this
And then you use the move tool again and just pull the camera a little bit more in the air, like up.
Right.
See that? There you go.
And then yeah, the
Is
local
it,
axis
is it? But do you get what I mean? It's only three directions it can move
local
in.
axis.
And if see, but you got it. You got the camera kind of centered. You get it? It's as if you're like a cameraman. You move it up and then you kind of face the camera down to look at it. But you'll see the next part's really fun.
Right. It's a little like to do local axis. It's like
Are you guys moving cubes already?
No, I'm explaining what's global and what's local.
It doesn't.
I didn't get to that part yet.
No, but
You're
she's trying to-
so
she's
you're in
trying to move the
isometric
camera.
mode.
But you
That
get it?
sometimes happens. You see right there? Where's this
I don't see the
ISO?
difference
Kind of
between
right
those
under
ones.
it there.
You know?
Yeah,
No,
that's
you
why
see-
we're
you
doing
see
that for
the
you.
direction of the
Yeah, just so you know.
Global,
See how this is tough?
global is this.
That's,
But why is
These
it
axes.
changing? Like, what does a global actually mean?
Yeah.
Oh, global means.
I'll explain the global and the
Let
local
him
in a
explain
sec.
it to you.
Yeah,
But
you guys are skipping ahead here.
when you use the camera, it's like, I'm just gonna set a new logo for you right now.
So you want it to be global or just
And it depends on you,
I
like.
mean, for the main.
Yeah, because you wanna pull the camera up, right? If you rotate the camera is like tilted, and you still wanna pull it up, you have the global one, and pull it in this direction, but you wanna pull it up, right?
Let me explain the global and local. Yeah, don't get into that yet. You don't need, local is fine for now.
You're
Yeah,
playing mode. But when you tilt the camera, the local.
I know, but you're skipping ahead.
Everything.
That's why don't be confused if the local and global doesn't make sense yet. But we're gonna move on to the next thing now, right? So now what I want to do is, because I kind of have this positioned like this, right? So I want to add a behavior to the sphere. So now let me just explain really quick how this stuff works, right? So oh, this is terrible.
Need some isopropyl.
Okay.
Make sure you get the right marker.
Why would they put Sharpies, man?
Yeah, we can spread it off.
I know. You know how you erase a Sharpie?
Yeah.
You hit it with a regular marker right over it.
Really?
Yeah. I learned this trick. And then look at that. See?
Just last night.
You didn't know that? Yeah. That's how you erase a Sharpie. You hit it with the regular wet erase. But yeah, we'll do that later. But okay, so every object in Unity, like say we have our sphere. So these are called game objects. So now remember how every game object has transform. So remember how like if I click this and you see over here it says transform. So it has like an X, Y, and Z position. Same thing, rotation, X, Y, and Z. This is position, this is rotation, and then it has X, Y, and Z scale. Now, if you want to make the object bigger, you increase its scale. If you want to change its rotation, etc., etc. So, every object has this, right? Now, what every object can get is something called a component. So, each one of these things here and you see how these are kind of like sections like this. You see how they're kind of separated here? Each one of those is a component. So every game object has like a transform component, just comes with it, right? But what we want to do right now is we want to add physics to this sphere. So we want to make the sphere fall and hit other spheres and all that stuff. And it's really simple to do that. It's just a component. So you add basically, just picture this sphere. It's a game object. It doesn't know what to do. You tell it, okay, you're gonna have physics now. And you give it a component, and it does it. And this is how you do it, right? So to add a component to your object, in this instance we want it to our sphere. You click the sphere. Up here, you see game object, what we had earlier, what we were clicking. This time I want you to go to component. So in here, it just has all the different components that an object can have. We want a specific one. We want to go to physics, and then rigid body. That's like the top one right there. So make sure you have your sphere selected when you're in this menu, and then just click rigid body like that. And then what you might notice is that here on the right, the rigid body component just got added to the object. So click on your object, go to the component menu up here, physics, rigid body. And our sphere will get a rigid body component up here on the right. So now if I take this sphere, pull it up into the air like this or something like that, and I press play, it'll fall. Just like what a sphere should do under gravity. If I have, so I'm still in play mode. Now, one of the other great things about Unity is that you can edit while you're in play mode. So while things are simulating, you could move things around and do stuff. So now that my sphere has a rigid body, what I could do, I could just Control C, Control V, or copy and paste. You can also do Command D for duplicate. So if I'm just duplicating the spheres, you can see they have behavior. Now you have to be in play mode for this.
To duplicate?
You can duplicate not in play mode, but if you want to see them roll around and stuff, you have to be playing basically.
You make it bounce?
Yep, you can make it bounce. You have to create a bouncy material. We could do that today if we have time. We're still early. We're only an hour in, and
How did you multiply them?
so there's two ways to do it. You could just use your favorite way to copy and paste an object. While you're in play mode, you click it, or you could do the duplicate command, which is on Mac should be Command D.
So
Should be the
you
duplicate.
can do that while you are in play mode, which is in the game window.
So I'm saying like you could if you want to see the spheres like animate, you see like if I'm not in play mode, they won't move. This is just kind of like the editing mode. You can duplicate in the scene view. See, I can duplicate them, but then I press play and then they will react.
Right, so you could eventually you could edit still while you are in play mode.
Yeah. The only thing is about that is that all the changes that you make in play mode, so see if I just make a bunch of them, and I exit play mode, the changes disappear. Now, this is normal. It's because, a program is supposed to reset itself after it's done its simulation and stuff. It goes back to the initial way it was set up. But yeah, for now, I just want you to do this. So maybe I grab like a few of these spheres and kind of set them up. Copy around a few of them like this, and then if you press play, you could see how they just kind of like fall on top of each other like that.
So to be clear, we do take it off play mode to create new stuff, and then
Yep.
put it back on play mode.
Yep.
No,
Planes might be tricky for physics because the plane doesn't have a true bottom. See that if you look under it, you see that? It doesn't have it on the bottom. But it still would work. If you want to add physics to the plane.
No, I want to involve
Oh, you wanted to do two
Oh, you
bounce
gotta
like that?
punch this little drag
Okay.
on top of it, the layer that we're gonna
And it just get used to navigating around. So always just kind of like look around from multiple angles just to make sure that things are in line. So right click and then just kind of like pan around with the A and the D and the ceiling.
And when you add physics, is it, like I noticed they just started rolling on the rounds, like the rigid body, and then
So it'll just kind of fall.
it's just that one.
So because the other ones didn't.
Didn't add the rigid body.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that you know you can just start copying the one that does have it,
Yeah.
or you can add it to the ones that don't. You know, you get the difference, right? So when you're editing, and then you want to play, you just press play, right? And you can see the things react. Now while you're in play mode, you can do the command D. Oh, can you click on it? Yeah, see? And you can just, whatever. You can make the plane bigger and stuff. It's just a lot of fun. So, you know, maybe so exit play mode, and you see everything that gets reset. Because it's like, because you get it, it's like the program does its stuff, and you shoot some characters, you know, a player dies or whatever, but when you're done with the program, it always gets reset. So maybe make the plane bigger so that you don't fall off so quick. So just click, and then you can either scale there, so now it's 1 by 1. You can make it like 5 by 5 or something. You see that? Or you can always use the scale tool over here, and then you can just drag by the middle box or by the individual sides. So you can, if you want to make it, if you want to stretch it in one direction, you just grab it by that direction. So if you want to stretch it like in the it's flat, so it won't go in that direction, but it will go in the other two. You get it? And then you can always just undo if you want to bring it back. Yeah, then you can just command Z or edit undo. And you can see it always tells you the shortcut right there too, right next to it. See? If you just forget, then you can just see.
So I have 4 spheres. I only see 2. That was because of camera position.
Yeah, so what you did here, so and also be careful with the pause. Pause doesn't mean you actually exited play mode, it just paused the playing. So the way to actually exit the play mode, you actually have to click the play button again. So what I noticed is over here, you actually maybe did this by mistake, you had to maximize on play over here. That's why it's going full screen when you press play. You see that, right? So if you disable that right there, maximize on play, just click that, then it won't do that. Yes, not press play.
So if I do that, and I still don't see, I have 4.
So you have 4 here. It's because the camera right here, see, it's probably in front of these two. So if you pull that camera back a little bit, if you grab by the Z, yeah, grab by that one, and pull it back. See?
So I want you to tilt it downward, and I
So pull it up. Oh, exit play mode first, because you want your changes to be saved. Yeah. So pull the camera back. Yep, and then pull it up.
Just seems.
Yeah. A little bit more. You can go. Yeah, and then grab the rotate tool. And now you want to rotate in the. So you see how this one goes like that one goes like that. We want to rotate like that. So we're gonna grab by the red one. I don't know if you can see it. It's very thin. But you just grab by that little red line. Yeah, and there you go. See that? Now, of course, you can also always open this transform. This transform right here of the object, just to expand it. You can see the rotation. You can actually change it by degrees. So right now it's 18 degrees. You can make something like 45 degrees if you want it to be really precise. See that? Get it? And the same thing with Y. It will rotate like this, and the Z. You can always tell which direction. You see X is that way at 45 degrees, so that means you're going this way. Y is upwards, so if you rotate by Y, you're rotating around that axis. It's just kind of like
Why is this, but this one is
yeah, so just think about it this way. It's almost like as if you're holding like a spinning sphere, you know, and you hold it like this, and it rotates, and you hold it like this, it rotates like, you get it? Kind of like a pivot, you get it? Yeah, so like if an object is like this, you know, and then this is the Y direction, and that's the rotation. You get it? If it's like this, then it's like that rotation. You get it?
That's weird. That's kind of a counterintuitive.
It's just how the rotations work generally, because it's a direction, like it just, if you're facing down, yeah. Basically, it's perpendicular always, if you think about it that way. That's just how 3D is.
So
Yeah.
you're better than I did.
No, that's fine, thank you.
So you might not even need to sign in with the account. But did you? Is it not? Did you sign in with the account? Yeah. Yeah. Just do yeah, I think you do need to sign in with the account. I can do that. Yeah, is the Wi-Fi really not working?
Not working for some.
Not right.
It was just really slow when it was downloading and stuff.
Yeah, like some, it's not working for some computers.
I'm gonna tether my phone for those of you that don't have it. Just don't download Unity with it. Yeah.
You on the gas network?
What?
You on a guest network and it's not working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Well, we do have a problem with our, Wi-Fi. We do?
Okay. Alright, just turned on mine. It should be Android
Just get on the use of.
Android AP should be called. And the password is just VR Bootcamp.
How do you make a connection to the texture?
So you open up the material and you click that little thing and that right next to it. You have a little circle and then you click mount.
Same thing, though?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can.
same thing, just like
But
you
you
do.
can't even select anything. You can select.
I think once it plays, it plays right, so you can hit.
Do you want to restart it?
Oh, actually, no, you can touch it. I grabbed mine when they were showing me that. Pull it back.
Yeah.
But you're grabbing in the scene,
Right, I'm grabbing the scene, not the game.
Or you can just not.
I think
It doesn't matter.
it's kind of like, it's like in a way, you just, right, you can see it, right.
This take it out. Just pull it out.
But it's dating.
Doesn't matter.
It adds texture based on the lighting, but it's very, if you put it on a sphere, the edge of the sphere is perfectly smooth, even if it's super rocky.
You're not even used to the Unity. Yeah, try signing something. Did my Wi-Fi work now?
But then you look at
It did, but like, no, I mean, I'm on your Wi-Fi, I'm sort of wondering if it's faceted here or something, or like, yeah.
It's probably just gotta get the right password. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work with just a few more primitives. Again, like today we're just keeping it very simple, and I just want everyone to just get comfortable with the interface mostly. But so far, the main areas that we've covered, and these are the crucial parts that I want you to remember. And I'm just gonna keep repeating these until it's really rock solid. So this is the main 3D area. The left side here is called the hierarchy. So whenever you hear me say the hierarchy, that means it's basically the list of all the objects we have in the 3D. So you see we have each sphere. If I click it here, it gets selected here. The bottom area here is the project view. This is where all your files are. So your assets, your textures, your sound files, whatever we're going to use later on. And this right side is the inspector. So this right side is always where you're kind of going to be tweaking the individual object settings. Whenever you click an object, its inspector shows up. And that's where all the components are. That's where you can disable, enable an object by clicking this little check mark here. You can disable, enable specific components, and etc., etc. But yeah, those are the main areas that I just want you to kind of really go home with today, and just know that that's basically, you know, the main Unity interface that is here. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to create just another type of primitive that's also very useful. And primitives, just if you don't know, primitives are just simple 3D shapes. Most programs come with just some basic ones like cube, sphere, etc. So this time we're going to create a cube. So same thing, go up here to game object, 3D object, cube. It'll make a cube. Might be behind your spheres like it was for me, might be in front, but just find your cube. And what I want you to do is I want you to pull your cube somewhere where you can work with it. And this is what I want you to do, right? I want you to scale the cube using the scale tool, which is the third one over here, like this, like a wall. So we're just gonna make like, we're gonna first pull it like this out, and then we're gonna pull it up like this, and we're gonna make it kind of like a wall, like that.
Which ones do you scale?
It's the third one over here. So all the tools are up here in this top left. You have move, rotate, and scale. These other ones, we don't really use it that much. So yeah, just take your cube, and again, if you don't know how to make the cube, all the 3D primitives are up here in game object, 3D object, cube. And just scale your wall up like this. And the last thing that we want is to repeat the same step as before. We're going to go to Google Images, and we're going to download something like a brick texture, or a stone wall texture, or I don't know, any other kind of wall you could think of, metal wall. I like to use bricks because it could look pretty cool. So just grab a brick texture off the internet. This one doesn't have to be square, as long as it just looks like it has lots of details. Just a nice brick texture. Download that and pull it into your project just like before, and then pull it onto your wall. So then what we want to do is we want to kind of play around with these physics spheres and this brick wall, and we kind of want to arrange these brick walls maybe like to create like a little ball pen for these spheres. Like that. Try to also make an overlap. You could even create a height map too. That Photoshop running and stuff. You just make it black and white.
Now it's like,
Just you forget your password.
and then dilute it.
And then you probably want to scale it.
Just
Or
play around with
or
the
the material. So you have to click on the object itself.
I'm gonna go find it.
Yeah, and then open the
Let me go
material.
to
And then
I'll go find it. Like, if you on the
I want to
track,
find
I can see if you go to the first one or you might have like there's a couple what I say there was another
And then just,
yeah,
zoom in a
global
little, zoom in a little bit, just so you can kind
for
of
now,
see
you
what
just
you're
want
working with a
everything
little
to
bit
be
better.
together, 'cause when
So just,
you get to
hold right
the
click
lower
and just
direction,
move
it's
into
very
it.
messy.
So with the
Low
W.
direction is the direction of
Yeah,
the camera.
just hold it.
As if you're the camera, if you want to go front,
Yep,
like
there you go.
this, you'll see you're going down because the direction is, you rotate the camera. So the global,
So
you're always going like.
If you want to make sure that it's like in the floor, just kind of pull it down until you see that it starts kind of
So
cutting
this
into
is
the
very
floor.
clear.
So make sure you use the specific
Then,
arrow for up and
Yeah,
down.
just try to like
So
mess
don't
with
grab it by
the
that middle,
angle,
grab it by
very
yeah,
different
like that.
angles, and
And
then
then keep pulling it until you see it go, yeah, so that's what you know. And you pull it out, and yeah, so that's
yeah,
kind
bring
of
it down like
there.
closer
So
to
it
the
doesn't really
wall.
mean that you don't do it, I just want to mean that you don't want the floor, right? Like the 0, 0, 0 does not mean that you want the floor.
it just depends relative to where your plane is as well. If your plane is literally a 0, 0, 0, then yes. But the idea is, see, this grabs it always by the middle. So even if it is at the bottom, that might not necessarily mean that it's 0. It's the middle of the cube. But yeah, we'll work with the more specific positions. Yeah, and then just find whatever you think is a good wall. So you want to look at yeah, that one's really tiny. Maybe like that's not bad. It's always better to find the
This one.
might be might not file. I'm not sure. So, you got it? Yeah, so we're going to take this and we're going to so this is another nice little exercise of just manipulating inside Unity. So I want you to create something like this. I want you to copy this and then rotate them into place and start making these wall segments. You could even cover the whole plane, but you don't have to. Just as long as we I want to wall off these spheres. It's very simple.
Is there a quick way to drop into a 4-camera view? Top, orthographic top.
They might have some presets up here.
Where,
I don't know, up here.
a layout?
Yeah, that's the layout of the program, but I'm not sure if they have. If you just want to create your own, you can always create a new tab by clicking this. You see that little thing right there?
Yeah.
It says Add Tab. You can add another scene tab, because I'm assuming that's what you want, and then you get another tab, and you can pull that tab out. And I'm assuming this is what you want to do, something like this, right?
Yeah,
That-
it will top view down.
Yeah, I know. And then you can click this as a top view.
Oh, cool.
And you can switch to orthographic if you want. I don't typically see Unity people do that though. That's generally like a 3D guy type of thing. But I don't think you'll need to. But if you want to, you can. Something like that. Yeah. You could do other fun things like grab one of these walls and maybe make kind of like a funny slide for these spheres. So this is just good practice. I highly recommend you just keep moving around objects, keep moving around your camera. This is very important to to really get comfortable with moving around these 3D views. And once you create your funny level of sorts. Now I'm gonna make more spheres. just again get used to just kind of now you got it. Now you look around from another angle. And then keep tweaking it, keep getting it into the right angle.
Oh, nice.
Just go more to the middle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I wasn't.
I'm trying.
No, I wasn't.
I'm trying to
I
ignore
think
it.
you want
There's so
to
much
go
strength.
to the right. Go in the other direction.
The
Yeah.
other direction?
Yeah, and then go in.
I was there, but it looks fine from here.
Go closer. Closer. Always move closer. And now look down. Now look down. Hold the mouse and look down with the mouse. Push it down. I mean like the mouse. Like, so you go closer. So go in. Yeah. And now use the mouse and hold right click and then look down with the mouse. You get it?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Now much better?
Yes, I know how to do it.
It's good.
Which is on Windows, it's control.
Did you get it?
So
Was it just
it's
so yeah, just we just started with the plane, so it's a game the object right here. See right here. Plane.
Yeah, because you the other way.
No, no.
Then I want you to make it like smaller.
Yeah, command C, command E, Mac, yeah.
No. I mean,
Resize
once
it
you
a little bit so you can see something then. And then what I want you to do is when we go Google and
Oh,
just download a grass texture.
no, I think you gotta copy paste it once by once. But you can like, what you can do is you can copy paste once, then you just select two of them, then you copy paste and it's like, next time it's 4, next time it's 8, you know. It's, I think you're thinking about like that function Photoshop, you know, when you're coding something that you can like drag. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Usually those square ones.
But you can
are
like
better.
cheat it.
The ones that are like even size, those images. Yeah, that should be fine.
You have to
Just
go
download
to
that
the-
somewhere.
look it up.
Usually, you could view the image and pull the original. So yeah, you just got started, so just try to get them up to speed.
So let's say if you want to line up things perfectly, okay, and then it's kind of difficult for you to tell.
Yeah, so there's snapping tools too. The only thing is that every object has its own different size. It kind of depends on how you set the object. And the best way to really align things right is say, you know, you have an object like this one right now. It's kind of an awkward scale, but say I did like 1 by 5 by 10, right? And then what I can do is if I'm moving this into Z here, say I start at like -20, then the next one should be -30, and then I'm 100% sure that they are the same size.
Yeah, try to line them up so they actually
Yeah, so but you can also do I believe is it V or how do you do snap again? I always forget. Oh yeah, you can also if you hold Control and move, you see how it goes by increments as well. But again, like I say, it depends on the size of your initial object. So the snap might not always work as expected. But for most intents and purposes, you can just kind of eye it out like this. We're gonna be getting more into polish and stuff. That's gonna be more like day 4, day 5 when we're doing level design. But for now, we're just kind of having fun. So yeah, if you kind of have been setting this up here like so, we are going to go over to the next part here, and now I'm going to show you, say like you have this sphere, right? One of these spheres, and you like the sphere just how it is, its size, you like that it has physics, everything, and you want to save this object just the way that it is right here. Here's how you do it. So when you have your object selected, it's also going to be selected here in the hierarchy. All you do is you pull the object from the hierarchy, like the sphere, into the project. So I just drag it from here and I put it in here, and it'll save that object with all of its properties right there. And then later you can take that object and drag it back out and make copies of it, etc. So this is called making a prefab. So prefab is short for prefabricated object. It basically saves an object with all of the properties you put in it. You put physics, you put the marble texture on it, you sized it, everything that you kind of, the way exactly you have it in the scene, you can then save it in there as a prefab. And this comes in very handy later on because the more you do Unity projects or any kind of like complex 3D scene, you're gonna start to have complex objects that have lots of little objects that are kind of part of that. And then you could save the kind of whole collection of the object like that. But it also works for simple things like just getting the like a sphere in there, like it's saved with all its properties. You know, prefabs, right? Oh, you just drag this object that you want into your project, and then you made a prefab. Yep. So this is that, and then you can take that prefab, and then
You don't have to load your
yep.
I'm trying to record with that. Maybe I should actually make it a full wall.
So if you're just saving all the textures on the desktop, and then you turn into the assets, it's actually making copies.
Yes, it's making copies in that folder, and you can always find that folder by right-clicking here, and then you would reveal and finder, and it'll show you where it is on your computer. So if it's rotated really weird, you can delete it too. You can always tweak. So if you go, so you see how maybe it looks kind of weird now. You see this? That sometimes you click that by accident. And what that basically is it kind of, this basically kind of switches into architect mode. It's kind of weird. You see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so if it's ever does that, just click this. Yeah, right here, see isometric and perspective. We usually work in perspective because it lets you look at things normally. This is weird. Yeah, just if you ever see that and you're confused, it's probably that. I think you had to click by accident. It happens. Yeah, it happens. It's okay. Just you can raise your hand, whatever. Okay, this is good.
You don't have the right.
Yeah.
Slow.
Sorry.
From the
Let me
beginning.
know if I'm going too fast. Let me know if I'm
It's
going
not
too fast.
square, so like.
So,
How can I help visually as it becomes?
but you know what is
Yeah,
so right now, let's say
Yeah, I think that's why it's like-
create a sphere. So you go to this hierarchy part, this is where all of your
drag it
objects
from
in the
Manifold
sphere
and
are
was,
listed.
Yeah, when you're
You
got
can either
some
find
other
different,
thing,
find
drag it
the
right
here,
while
that's
using
your
the
name light.
and yeah, see, I think it doesn't get it exactly, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Right, you need like 50 minutes, I guess.
Right, maybe that's something you can
And-
practice.
So now,
It is a little bit hot, yeah.
I think it's really cool. Open the window with the back and like tilt it one.
Yeah, go for it. We could take like 5 minutes. Yeah.
and then if you apply the texture to it, you hold the texture and drag it on top of it.
Got it. We're taking a break. I can take over.
Okay.
To the beginning. Yeah, but yeah, basically the main part that I want you to sort of remember here is right click. You just hold right click in the scene view. That's how you mouse wheel around, right? And WASD is how you move around. Right? So yeah, sure shows you how to pull like the texture, right? So you got it from Google.
Yep.
And you just drag it into Unity. So everything is drag and drop.
Right.
So if you want to get this grass texture on the plane, you just drag it onto this. You can drag it like that, or you can drag it on there as well. Yep, so do that. And then we also need another one for you to get a marble texture. So just draw on Google. Yeah, and just Google marble texture. Or whatever. Texture, whatever. Go to images. Yeah, and you just click like that.
That's a great. Is this your table right now?
And then view image to get like the full.
Yeah, work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just
Yeah,
save
that was
it
super
somewhere.
fast.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
See that smart card?
And back into Unity.
Yeah, right?
You could right click here and import, or you can drag it in. You can right click, import your asset. Yeah, and then pull it off your desktop. There it is. So take the marble texture and put it on the sphere. There you go. So go a little bit closer into it, the sphere, so you just right click, and then kind of W your way there. And then kind of look up at it. The other thing that we did was we converted, so you just hold right click, and then look up. Yeah, up, right, go to the one, yeah. The other thing we did was we also added a bump to this marble texture. So Unity has some built-in ways that you can take like a regular picture and like create like an extra detail on it. So what you do, you just right click the marble texture and show in Explorer. It'll show you the actual folder where the files are stored. So it's usually in your documents and then the name of your Unity project. So that's where it usually stores.
You
I mean, you
didn't
can set it like
free
maybe
Bootcamp?
private.
Oh.
But this is the default.
Thanks.
Documents,
Great.
your documents, and then that's where the files are stored. So whenever you drag something in or you import, it basically makes a copy of that inside there. So now what I want you to do is I want you to copy and paste this marble texture, just make a duplicate of it right in there.
How long is it gonna be up?
Yeah.
Me?
You have to
A year until by now, like a little bit. I started using Unity like a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's really fun.
Do you feel comfortable now?
Yeah, like very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because I've been I study game design in Parsons that they teach Unity in my college too, but they don't teach it as good as this class. You know, I hope I had this class in my school. Yeah.
So what are you working on now? What kind of stuff are you doing?
I'm working on a game, like a app game that I'm gonna publish with a friend. It's like a AR cooking game. I'll show you in a little bit. Wait.
So we just want to change a few things on this second one. So you want to go to versus default texture type. See there? Change that default, put that to normal map. And then create from grayscale.
So this is
So what we're going to do is basically creating, and you make the bumpiness
environment that you play.
much 0.0. You can edit something like that. And apply.
The most easiest.
So what this does is basically it'll be converted the black and white grayscale of that into like a height map, the bumpiness. And that's just like a quick little Unity way of doing it. So to apply that to your material, you click the marble texture. Now we're gonna the marble material.
Not yet, but I look forward to incorporating the headset.
Its material properties.
I know there's
See, we already have this marble texture.
like, the best part is
I
that
want
you
you to
can
drag this
export to
marble
any
to a
device.
normal
Like
map.
iPad,
Add like
iPhone,
another
Android device,
texture.
like, you don't have to change anything
So,
from
you have to put it on
the
the
code,
code.
you
You
just need
just click, you have
to
to drag it instead of clicking.
Yeah, I can make this like a live game, eventually big game.
Another way to log into
Like,
Postgres. So another way of doing it is
yeah,
you
in the
click
future,
that
like,
word
because you have the controllers and you can like,
Postgres like next to that option that gives you like a browser or a language. And you can see how they have the polygon. So it's not, you change the amount of bump by changing the one there. See the one?
Do you design all these elements?
Yeah, so.
yeah, me and a friend, the two of us made it together.
But usually it's two guys that do the one.
Which documents it does, so I'm putting Maya on here.
And then the other,
That's the little
so
company, will give you like a recipe, like,
now, every object has components. So each one of
I don't
these,
know what the best.
each one of these is a component. I think you have
yeah, but I was playing around with some other like
so
programming languages.
they all just come
Other, like,
with
devices.
transforms.
So one other recommendation
see the transform has like its position,
So this is it,
scale.
you know.
You can
It's so
scale the
powerful.
sphere, you know, by
It's
making
kind of
the
like
scale.
Photoshop, like 3D, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can just like play with it. Even like make 3D models.
Yeah,
just a
little bit.
Unity.
Little.
I'm glad you guys are
But
So-
what I want you to do
Forward
here,
to
so
what kind
you
of
want
thing
to
you guys
add
are
a
gonna make.
behavior.
Excited.
Now, before we do that, let's make
No,
a
I know.
Where we might be.
I think maybe that's just, I think you
You see.
you want to fast,
change the scale.
You can-
What would be the,
but
give an example of some of the attributes and.
Like there's
Oh, wow.
there's this guy who took to bootcamp for like 2 weeks and he made like a Michael Jackson music video. He made like a bunch of zombies dancing. And then they were all like on time and then it was like a street environment and shit.
Oh, now that's the scale. Now you can pull by either one of
So
them.
it's gonna go through with you guys later, but you have the like Unity access store that you can like
That
download.
modifies that, you see that?
Peter,
Where's that? In this case,
Right,
like, I mean, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
Swan
He's gonna
Valley,
like
up
walk
there
at
with,
me. I'm just like.
why is
It's in Unity Y is up. That's why, yeah,
I was
that's why I
surprised
didn't
you're
do
here, but
anything Y.
And then
I mean, so was I.
Hey, one that's like really great.
Okay, so
But yeah, I
change
got
this
a
number to
couple.
anything I want.
And it will still say, because it's a plane, yeah, but if you did that
Yeah,
on
you
the
can
sphere, you
download,
would see
like,
the sphere.
free one.
And then the last thing that I was showing is, so
I just wanted to
Right,
experience,
right.
I want to make experiences for myself and my friends.
And then you had mentioned
and
before
you
you were
can
trying
see
to
that
get,
this will switch.
I guess,
Yeah,
trying to
Unity
get
is-
company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You guys have a live here, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever played the
You
Wave?
just take that game pad,
It's like
drag it
psychedelic.
down.
Really?
To the right side.
Yeah, I didn't know how they would.
Where is it? Where do you, how do I do it?
So that's basically how you kind of
The Wave
Yeah, right there.
We have that here. The trippiest
And then, yeah, so then the last thing we did, we added some, actually, make this glass texture more
Oh,
tile.
here?
Yeah, you just go into, you already have
It's
it
like
selected.
I don't know,
So you
I
select
think
the
it's made in
material
Unity.
and scroll down a little bit. You see
Oh, wait.
timing, you have X1 and
They're demoing it, but like if you put the
you
vibe
see how the
in,
texture.
if you put the vibe on, it's like you get, and you see the
kind of add
trippiest.
more detail. And then last thing is to add physics, right?
And you can like
On
like
the
shoot
sphere,
in it
and
too.
it's
Oh,
a
Yeah,
you're
this
inside
guy's
it.
DJing. Yeah.
both behaviors and
You're inside this crazy environment.
Yeah, yeah.
was added as a component. So once you have it selected, you
We're
go
kind
to
of like,
component.
bits.
Yeah, the ones where they all have a like baby food.
Oh, yeah.
And when you click that, you see that it's got added there as a component. You get things like mask, drag, whatever.
So I can make this heavier.
Well,
So, yeah.
technically, physics is heavier than
Can we try this?
But it would.
Oh, yeah, there. Yeah.
Isn't that a thing like gravity? Isn't that how heavy?
Yeah, but the Wave is free in the HTC store.
Oh, yeah?
But
Yeah.
mass would affect, like if an object flies, a lighter object would break the wall.
You have the music get that.
Yeah, that
It takes any song you have or goes to YouTube,
Drag.
processes it, and then it like shoots balls at you, and you have two
So
shields,
then
so it's kind of
now-
like Guitar Hero.
You see that
Oh, it's nuts. It's like,
But
I'm
it's a bit exciting.
hooked on that one.
Yeah.
And then now,
Too late,
I'm
already.
excited.
Obviously, push the gear of the
And
camera.
I saw a lot of classes.
and then you can control the.
It's like a workout too. I'm like,
And then if
I got
you
some
press
shoulders
play,
that playing it.
It's locked.
Yeah, they come flying at you, you gotta like go back and
and
forth.
then the only other thing we did, so we started
that's
making
like boxing.
This is
Yeah.
both for the music, yeah?
in there, this is where you create
Yeah, the vibe.
these objects, so 3D objects,
Yeah.
that's where you're kind of, these
Yeah, perfect.
kind of
That's
things
perfect.
are. So we use cubes for our wall, and then you can stretch it.
And that's the entirety of the thing, whatever song is stretching
Yeah, and you can upload your own songs, and the cool thing is you can, within it, log into YouTube, and you can play, like, it plays the video on the screen way off in the distance.
So
Yeah,
just
you
try
know,
that,
it
get a
takes
great
some
texture,
time.
and then pull it onto that wall, and then try to
I
kind
tell
of
you,
sit
this
up
is like when I first learned
Pretty much it.
No, but I think it's like $20. It's well worth
That's
it.
standard price.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right.
I know that my boss had mentioned
Oh, yeah.
they were
Yeah, right.
into it, but they didn't.
You can even make your own music, and it'll, you load it in and it processes it, and then you play it.
Right, and I felt that, you know, I don't get it, but a lot of companies.
You're dancing with the music.
Oh, you hit the notes.
Yeah, it's kind of like Guitar Hero.
I get that.
But
It's so
I don't know,
boxing
maybe it's
style.
10 years from now, but even still, I don't want to fall behind in terms of the programming.
But it does it to whatever song we want to
I
do.
at least want to be able to
Makes sense.
say, hey,
Wanna try this pop?
You just pop, I don't know.
yeah, I think they are.
I'm not sure what she's buying is
Just from what I saw.
But all this stuff that you're learning here is applicable.
Yeah. You know,
So, now that y'all been kind of experimenting with creating your own assets, we were just using stuff off the internet, simple primitives like cubes and spheres and planes, to create a very simple scene that's already has some interaction, some things going on. Now, does everyone feel kind of comfortable with just the 3D environment? X, Y, and Z, rotating, scaling things. So this is the most important part of the lesson today, is basically I want everyone to be really comfortable with this 3D environment. I want you to kind of know, you know, this shouldn't look intimidating when when you open Unity, now you already know. This middle part is 3D, this left part is the list, the right part is the details of the object. It's no longer like you open it and you're like, what is all these things, you know? How do you make an object? It's up here. Are all your menus, game object and component, very friendly, so you can find all of it. So now I'm going to introduce you to another really cool Unity concept, which is called the Asset Store. So you can find the Asset Store right here, right next to Scene. It should say Asset Store. If you just click that. If it doesn't show up there, you can always find it in Window Asset Store. But it should be right here. It should be a tab. And when you click that, you should see a bunch of these cool assets show up. Now, the Asset Store is a great place to find free and paid assets already created by artists, by programmers, musicians, you name it. You can get anything from sounds to levels, characters, cars, houses, whatever you want pretty much. And a lot of stuff is free, and it's actually really high quality assets. So you don't need to be, you know, crazy talented artist to be creating stuff with this. And my goal is to kind of use a bunch of these free assets and kind of show you how to use them and to put together something very fun and passable, like very, you know, very interactive. So, you know, if we just kind of look through here, I want to look for a specific thing. So in the search bar, let's type barrel. So it's 2 R's. So we just type something like barrel. And you see there's a bunch of search settings. If you click on free only over here, you'll make sure you're only finding free assets. Now they got metal barrels, wood barrels. I'm going to go for this metal barrel one. This 6th one. If you just click it, and you'll see that's like a barrel asset already created by some 3D artist, for example. So if you just want to be in the same one that I'm at, if you just search metal barrel, this one should show up. Now the way that you import an asset into Unity, mine says import because I already downloaded this. Yours should probably say download. So if you just click on that little button right there, it's going to do a little loading screen, and it's going to show up with the menu like this. And this is called import Unity package. So basically it has all the objects that are inside that package, like the texture of the barrel, the the model of the barrel, and etc. And it asks you to import them. So you don't really want to check anything on and off here. Everything that they give you is fine. Just click import, and it'll do its thing and import the barrel. Now what you see should show up in your project files. You should see a barrel folder that's been created. And this artist that created this was they're called Game Ready or whatever. They seem to have a lot of cool free assets. I don't know, they got some cool stuff. Look at that. Tea set for $2. I personally buy assets as well, especially if I'm doing like some quick prototyping or something like that. You know, back in the day, you used to have to be a 3D artist, and you had to like spend months and months to do something, you know, to make it look good. A lot of times now, you don't even need to be an artist. You can just put stuff together from assets that you find. And on the other spectrum too, if you're an artist, you might not need to code anything. You can already just download some behaviors already coded. So that's one of the great things about Unity is it kind of reels it all in. It brings it all in, and it really gives you the freedom to create all sorts of experiences with, you know, even if you've never created a 3D model before.
Does it take a long time to import?
I shouldn't.
So if you buy like a city, you see them here.
Yeah.
The whole fucking city?
Yeah, everything, cars, traffic
All the
lights,
models,
all the models,
we put them-
and then you can move them around and then, you know, do all sorts of things with them. And then it all works on the same principles that we were doing here. So moving, scaling, you know, adding physics to things, and etc. So yeah, if you got your barrel already imported, if you go into the barrel folder in your assets right there, you should see one folder is called prefabs. You remember prefab from before we mentioned? So prefabricated objects. That's usually every asset that you download off the asset store or something like that comes with the folder called prefabs usually. And in there you'll find the actual object already ready to go. So see in here I have a barrel prefab. If I just pull that in, boom, there's my barrel. So do that. So pull a barrel into your scene. Yeah. Scale it up if it's too tiny. There we go. So just accept. Yeah, and then it will just give you an import dialog. Do this there.
I realized I was in play mode, it wouldn't let me download.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah, and then just click import. And then you'll get the barrel folder you see there. And then in there in prefabs is where you're going to want to go. Prefabs. And then just make sure you go back to the scene view, and then you can drag that barrel into your
So what's the difference
I think there's a setting in Unity that allow you to change your background color to something really shiny in play mode. Like you can change all your background color to like green in play mode.
oh, so it's
So
super
tiny. So
yeah,
maybe you wanna
it's
make it
under
bigger.
preference and colors. The top
Well,
one,
maybe
there's
white.
a setting called play mode tint.
So scale maybe
So it
right.
can help you,
Yeah.
remind you not to do any changes.
Got there?
I got a barrel.
Barrel. Do a barrel roll.
Do you usually bring in the mesh, or if, like the one I got had a seam in there? Would I ever?
No, just
grab
use
the
the
seam?
prefab. I don't know if yours didn't have a prefab. Yeah, just drag the mesh in. That's fine. So now this barrel, we can add physics to it in the same way that we added to our sphere. The only thing that we have to do is you always have to check if your barrel or your whatever asset has a collider. For it to have physics, it needs to be able to detect collision. Now over here, like if you click a sphere, you'll see it has a sphere collider. Colliders are usually green like this. So, but the barrel, our barrel propeller doesn't have a collider. See, it just has a mesh render, animator, whatever, but no collider. So what I want you to do is I want you to add a collider to this barrel. It's a special type of collider. So again, collider is also a component. Just like how physics is a component, all these things are components. So all you have to do is select your barrel, go to component, and then in physics, there should be something called mesh collider. So click mesh collider, and mesh collider, it basically tries to create a collider that's the exact shape of the object, the mesh of the object. So once you have the mesh collider on your barrel, you should see it just show up here as a component. Very important. So all these are components. And the only thing I want you to check is convex right here. This little check mark. And then you should see all the lines all these green lines just pop up around the barrel like that. And now it's kind of has the right collisions. So let me explain what convex means. Yeah?
There are cubes that come with the collider.
Yes. They all come with the box collider. Yeah. You can always see it. It just says it right there. If you click a cube,
Yeah.
it should be box collider.
Not a Sharpie?
Okay, so I'll just do like a quick, it's almost like a little physics lesson, I guess. But so a concave object looks something like this. So it's maybe has like a full, and then the inside is like that. Okay, so that's a concave object. This is a convex object. Okay, so a concave object has interior angles. Now you can imagine if you had a physics engine, and you had two objects that are like this. This is very hard to calculate the collisions between objects that have interior angles. When you check convex, what that does is even though maybe your mesh is concave, it will just bridge it right there, like that. And that's the only way you can get like the accurate like physics of like multiple of them like intersecting with each other is if an object is convex. Now you might be asking like, oh, what if like I have a building and it's got like a hallway and stuff? So that's fine as long as the building isn't falling on other buildings. If your physics object is stationary, you know, and other things are bouncing off it, it could be concave, no problem. But the moment you have like an object that you want to throw around with like 100 other objects or etc., then it has to be convex.
Is it because is it going to actually collide correctly, or it's going to have an approximation?
It's going to have an approximation here, basically.
Based on those two.
Yeah. So you have to. Yeah. So that's why you have to do the convex. It's just how physics engines are written. It's almost impossible to calculate a proper concave between two concave objects. It's like
Too complicated.
well, the best way to do that is to create two convex objects and stick them together. Create a concave object. That's how people do it. It's actually way easier to calculate is if you just do it like that. So this object, I would probably cut it right here, and then I would just make them part of one. But that's just the idea. Just so you know, I don't even need to explain why it is. I just do convex and don't ask questions. Well, yeah. If you want it to be like a physics object that just reacts with other physics objects. So once you've done that, you should be able to see your barrel has these kind of rings around it like this. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take and kind of like stack them like bowling pins kind of. Oh, actually, sorry. Before you do that, before you start copying them, add physics to the barrel. So we added a collider. Go to component, physics, rigid body. So it needs to have a collider and a rigid body in order for it to have physics. If it didn't have a collider, but it had physics, this happens. Watch. It just falls through the ground. I had a duplicate. So you add physics by selecting the object that you want, component, physics, rigid body.
What just happens? So if you don't have physics, what happens?
If you have physics but you don't have a collider, it'll just fall through the ground.
So what if you have a collider and not have physics?
It won't fall. It'll just stay in the air. Yeah. But if you have both, then it'll react properly. So, see, I have mine kind of coming in like that. So I don't know how you set up your physics environment, but what I want to do, once I have my barrel with the rigid body and the collider, I'm just going to stack them kind of like bowling pins like this. Oh, actually, it's too far apart. Something like that. it's not like bowling pins, but just, I'm gonna stack them up like this. So just try to do this. Again, this is also good practice.
Can you select two objects and duplicate them?
Yeah, you can. You can shift select multiple objects as well.
Under inspector, can you see whether or not it has physics?
Yeah, if it has a rigid body, then it has physics.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have something like this, and then my spheres here, I'm gonna increase their mass. And you can always modify the properties of a physics object by, in the component here, you see where it says mass? I can increase mass, like something like 10 or whatever. So now if I press play, and I do my little simulation here, a few of them will eventually roll down the path of justice. No. You know what? Just need another edge barrier right here. Just like that. And here they go. Rolling, rolling. And there he goes. Boom. It's very anticlimactic, but yours might be more exciting than mine.
When I play back, it seems like the physics is slower than.
Than like what it would be in real life.
Yeah.
It's usually the sizes of objects. Sometimes it kind of does that. It's usually not. It should be the same, but if you want it faster, you can always increase the amount of gravity. And the way you do that, you go to Edit, Project Settings, Physics. You can change the Y gravity speed. See that? You make it like 15, negative 15. And then it should see that.
Yeah.
It's usually gravity. It does it right. It's like 9 point. Who's my physics here? 9.8 meters per
7
second.
meters per second square.
Something like that. But like in a 3D engine, sometimes that might look pretty slow.
Yeah.
So mine's supposed to be the same size, but they all look different for whatever reason.
I think one is just in the ground.
Oh.
If you just click it, left click it.
Oh, I see. And how do you make it all?
Just when you press play, they will do their thing. If some are intersecting, yeah. You even see when they're kind of intersected, they'll kind of bounce out a little bit. Just work the camera a little bit so you can see where you're going. Just hold right click and just navigate yourself around. Yeah, and then Yeah, so I always recommend if you're going left and right, have the camera facing front, so then you can see left and right. You know what I mean? So maybe
I just do.
Yeah, so then go up above the wall. So you can look up and go up there, or you can. Well, now you're going down. Yeah, you can do that too. You can go backwards, and then you can go. So now you look up a little bit. Kind of like that. Just kind of go over it, and then there you go. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of getting used to, especially if you've never worked with a 3D engine, but that's totally okay. You'll see you get the hang of it. I mean, you're already setting up walls and stuff, which, if you've never worked with any 3D engine, it's good. Yeah, so just get closer so you can see, Yeah. And you can see how it's in the ground. You see when you pull it? Yeah, you see that? Once that orange line really shows up, then you know it's round.
Thank you.
it's a type of algorithm that gives you confidence in all of it. Very bumpy. You can go to the import services. You can see it and like adjust the function.
Maybe download a different barrel.
Did you put physics on the barrel too?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so they're just, and then again, just kind of, work this scene view so you can kind of see it better. So you just, hold your like break and just kind of. Yeah. You can go up and down. Well, quick way you can go up and down is through the knees.
You had to increase the mass in the ball.
Now, if I wanted to, is there,
Let's see, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can do control V. So you made a copy, and now you can pull that copy.
There's a break in the wall.
if I want to, let's say, slant this,
You can rotate. And then rotate in a certain direction.
Well, there, yeah.
Just be careful rotating randomly on this. Just control Z to go. And just move. And grab by one of the little lines. Grabbing that down. Grabbing that specific angle. Get it?
gotcha.
And the same works for all the other angles as well.
Is it working? Try download. It's not working. Try download. We'll figure it out. It's not there.
And then you can always see a rotation in here if you want to be precise. You can do it by angle. This is 90 degrees and that's 80 degrees. You can just zero it out and then you can see what the original. So maybe 130 degrees you want and then the other one's 0.
I do. I keep adding mass slider to the barrel. Oh, there it is. Wow. The second I click on it. Why?
Oh, I think because you see
now
the
you're
higher
home.
superior barrels under
You wanna make
a
it-
game, an empty game object on the barrel. So you can just drag your barrel out of that object,
You can maybe
and
drop
then yeah, and then
behind
just delete that into the same object, so you'll be controlling the barrel, right? You know, the one below.
Yeah, just work
Yeah,
that
do
wall
that
and
and
pull it out of there.
The parent object of the barrel, but
This
you
research
don't need
tools,
it.
rotate and scale. Those are your main three to work with transform. You can also scale this down a little bit, this whole window. Just kind of pull it by the gray there. Yeah, just so you can kind of so yeah, the whole thing is like extensible, you can just move it around. Yes, I think that one didn't have a convex.
I actually did that
On purpose.
purposely
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
what it does.
Yeah.
So it just falls off and you don't have it.
It basically doesn't have a collider. Like it's not. It does, but it doesn't work. Like if it's falling. It only works like if it's a stationary object. Like so, it's fine if you have like a building with staircases and stuff. Even though, of course, it's gonna be concave. You know, it can be. You know.
So when would you use concave?
A lot of times you use concave. Like if you create the level design and all that stuff, has lots of concave things. But it's just when we're talking about objects that are literally simulatable, like multiple on top of each other, then the pieces have to be concave. So usually, it's convex. Sorry.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, I mean, just for these kinds of objects, like for what we're kind of creating this physics demo. Yeah, nice. So they all have to be convex like that.
What's the convex setting?
Oh, it should be on the collider. Mesh collider convex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you really got it. You can see it usually. You see how they're green?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see that.
Why would my barrels not be getting knocked over?
You have to try.
Are the balls not rolling fast enough?
Oh, yeah, they don't have enough mass.
Yeah. Oh, so I can set the mass higher for the,
Yeah, or lower on the barrels.
yeah. How does that for all of us?
So you can select all the series. So you can, if you want, you can search right here too. Type C, and then you can select all of them. Yeah, and then over here, see, you can change the setting for all of them. Make sure you can pick the search similar to the it's strong, right? Yeah, but it's definitely the mask. They make it like 10 or 20 and I'll definitely. I had to make it like 10 to knock them over.
God, no!
So you can do really fun stuff with this. When I first started playing with Unity, I loved doing the physics stuff. I actually did one of the first one of the first videos that I put up on YouTube.
Yes, there you go.
Was
young Philip.
Was of this. This was 6 years ago. See, so I made a house.
Music.
Yeah, so this was just cubes. I just scaled the cubes and I spent a lot of time, arranging them and making it like bricks.
So this was back before you could buy assets, maybe?
I mean, it was, you still could, but it was a long time ago. See, it's got 17,000 views. And people are like, the music gave me a seizure and stuff. So, but yeah, this is what I did. Like, it was like the first thing I ever did. It was so much fun.
What's your most viewed video?
My most viewed video is the destructible terrain one. I think so. Not long after that, I wrote this script where you can actually, this one's got 46,000, and I put the code up for this too, but you can modify the terrain height, so
Angsty teenager.
yeah, this is old. It's 4 years ago or something.
Oh, so you can blow up the terrain.
Yeah, so wherever you click, it and that was a very complex code to do that. Back then, no one really did it, but I did that, and I also did a code for changing the texture too. So not only does it change the shape, but it also makes it like dirt where you click it and stuff. Since then, that's actually taken. That's become like a little bit of a game. Since then, this is something I've been working on semi-recently. So it's a multiplayer game. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z style. You just make these power beams and you battle each other with them, and then you hit buildings and they blow up and craters and yeah. But it's all the physics stuff. Similar. See, it makes holes in the ground. Download it. No, not yet. This is very early, but yeah, there's a download up here. It's a multiplayer game. Yeah, I mean that's one of the main reasons why I got into Unity was because I wanted to play around with the physics and stuff. So I always like to do the physics stuff in my first classes just to show how fun it is. You can really do a lot of fun stuff with this. And again, this asset store isn't just limited to the barrel. We can find something else fun there's a good food pack here. If I just search food, there's this free food pack one. Has all the different foods. It might take a while to download and import, so maybe don't do this one. But again, also if you just want to go home and play with it and stuff, the assets are, there's so many different types. I just wanted to show you the barrel because it's just kind of like a simple one as an example. But see if I grab these foods, I get cheese.
Meatballs.
It's really tiny, so you gotta make it bigger,
Cheese.
I want the
How
Swiss
do you
cheese.
proportionally size it that fast again?
Oh, I was just scaling it.
It's from the center, right?
Yeah, just from the center. So I can grab these pieces of cheese. I do the same thing. I add a mesh collider. Again, even doesn't matter what kind of shape it is, as long as you click the convex thing, and see it'll calculate. See where the cheese has a little bit of a hole? You see how the line goes over the hole? That's what I mean by convex, because you can't expect it to actually calculate
Physics in the whole.
like in the hole of the Swiss cheese. It's too much, you know. So it'll just, when you do convex, it'll just approximate the shape of it. For all intents and purposes, it still looks fine. So if I had a rigid body, and
So you had a sphere, and then when you put the
What?
texture on, it changes shape?
no. I just downloaded cheese. I just downloaded asset. Yeah, a prefab with the
How are you
cheese.
making all that cheese?
I'm just duplicating it.
How do you do by doing what? By doing what?
Control D.
It's a cheese is a virus! Kill it!
Cheese is invading.
You can grab one piece of cheese and like raw.
How many objects can you put on?
Oh, my computer can keep going. You have a muffin.
When like a piece of cheese falls off the plane, where does it fall to?
Infinity.
Yeah.
It keeps.
Can you
Keeps
watch
dropping.
it fall? Can you just keep? Oh, there it goes.
See,
Where does it land?
it doesn't.
And then this giant piece of cheese falls through the ceiling of our actual reality.
See, it's just gonna keep falling.
Is there a way to set up like asteroids so that once it gets to a certain point, it drops from above it?
Yeah, there's a little script you could write that does that.
Whoa.
But yeah, see, it even has low animation.
Throbbing cheese?
Yeah.
Oh, it comes with animation.
Everything's vibrating. It matters. You just see it in cheese.
There's like burgers and stuff. Shrimp.
Shrimp is probably a good example for like convex.
Yeah, right. Hey, if you do mesh collider on this, see what it does? See how it approximates it? Because it will not actually collide on the inner part of the shrimp.
So when you do that, is it just displaying it, or is it changing the properties?
It's not changing it per se. It's just calculating its own like.
So you typically always do it. Every object as convex?
If I'm gonna be doing this with them, like if I'm gonna be like.
Yeah, I think Unity doesn't allow you to
That can
not
work.
use convex.
If it's like an object that's like flying around, hitting other objects and stuff. If it's like a building, you know, no problem. It doesn't have to be convex. If it's like a stationary part of the level or something like that. But like I said, you'll have things like stairs, you'll have things like, you know, guardrails and stuff, and they'll all collide just fine if other things are hitting them. But they themselves cannot like start like flying and stuff, you know.
Now, does that strip look like a poor impression of strip? Because the artist didn't take a lot of time
To what?
Is it because the artist didn't take a lot of time to actually make it look like a shrimp, or is that the limits of Unity?
No, this is just like a free asset. This is totally just the artist. If you want to talk about limits of Unity, I mean, you could do cool things like you're mentioning earlier, making better grass and stuff, right? So I'll show you like a scene I've done like as an example in like an advanced class that we've done. Cool. Unity is not very limited when it comes to graphics. You can make beautiful looking scenes.
That's, you do a lot of lighting work on that.
Not really. Most of it is just standard Unity stuff. And then you can then go in and, you know, you can tweak things. Depth of field. You can do like amount of bloom.
Do you know if there's a way to get terrain from Google Earth?
They even have an asset for that, I believe. Yeah. And then this grass even animates.
And they have a world political map. $75.
This all comes with Unity. Yeah, I mean they have assets to do a lot of
Upgrade
things.
$45.
And then I have some other things there somewhere. So, let's see here. So we've pretty much covered like the main parts that I wanted to cover today. Let's see, what should we do to prepare for tomorrow? Yeah, so who here is deploying to iOS or is planning to do iOS?
Can you talk about what the difference and why you recommend one versus the other?
Well, they're kind of the same almost. It's just you need to have a Mac to export to iOS. Just letting you know. Like if you have a Windows and you want to export to iOS, it's not gonna let you. You're gonna have to use Android. But yeah, other than that, like the only difference from like an industry standpoint is it's much easier to test like with the client with Android because you could just send them like an Android file and they can install it on their phone. Whereas with iOS, you have to get the client's iOS device's ID number recorded into your Apple account, and then you can give them an app that they can run. It's a little bit. It's called provisioning and stuff. It's a little bit more strict and stuff. Also, another thing, to publish to the App Store an app can take 2 months and it can get rejected and stuff. Whereas Android takes 2 days and it never gets rejected. Like you can practically make a virus and they'll still accept it.
Can you run an Android experience on Apple?
No.
iPhone?
But with Unity, you're developing for either or. It doesn't matter. Everything you make in Unity can then be exported to any of those and even other platforms too.
Can I send a file from a Mac to PC to then export to an iOS? I mean to an Android?
Oh, you can export Android from Mac.
Oh.
No problem.
Oh, so
Yeah. Just
okay.
you can't export iOS from Windows. That's the only
That's
thing.
just how Apple is.
Well,
So then the new MacBooks that came out with the VR, is that, I mean, I don't know.
the AR stuff?
Specs, I don't know what I'm looking
Wait, the VR stuff? I'm not sure what they're doing with VR. I know they're doing stuff with the AR.
for.
But yeah, I mean, so if you are doing iOS, you need to just have Xcode installed on your computer. So how about we take this time today and just get ourselves prepped for tomorrow's class because I want at least most of everyone to export something to their phone tomorrow. And yeah, so I think that's gonna be a good exercise. So yeah, for Mac users, get yourself Xcode. You can get it on the Max App Store or whatever it's called. Sorry, I'm not a Mac. For everyone else that's doing Android, and if you're a Mac user that's doing Android as well, this is what you need to get. So you need to get Android Studio. You need to get this. Maybe don't download it now because it might be really slow, especially if you're tethering on my phone. It's 2 gigs. But please write this down. I will also email a reminder. I already did before today's class too. But again, you're going to need Android Studio and you're going to need this. You're going to need Java JDK.
That's for
Android.
Window users? Or
For if you're exporting to Android.
how about
You don't need to worry about that. You just need Xcode. Yeah. Yeah, so I emailed this earlier. I will email it again. But yeah, and I can put it on the Slack too. So I'm gonna put it right here. So Android users. Does anyone not have this, by the way? It needs it. The Slack channel. So you need this, and you need Android Studio. Come with both of those installed, and then we could work with that tomorrow. So yeah, I put it on here. Does anyone not have this, the Slack channel information?
to a certain version of Xcode, that my computer does not allow install 10.12.
I think like as long as you just have Xcode, if your computer can just run some version of it, it should work fine. I think, right? Yeah.
I have a Windows computer with an iPhone, so I can have it.
Yeah, I would recommend you get an Android or like I have an Android that we can use in class.
How about
You
Kindle?
could-
It's gonna take a while. The Kindle Fire.
It should work.
Kindle?
But you
But
can't really do VR with
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because it's like you need to be able to put the goggles. Yeah.
Wait, what kind of apps can your Kindle run?
It's an Android. No, the Kindle Fire. It's like it's a tablet. It's an Android.
And then once that's done, then you should be able
Is
to.
the Java SC development?
Yeah. It's
Oh, you like the way
just get the one that's for your computer. Probably Mac OS X there. So you're doing Android then? Okay.
So this is only for Android users? I mean, if I'm on the Mac, do I have to do that?
Are you building to Android?
If I wanted to switch between both.
So yeah, if you need, basically, let me explain. So the reason why you need Java is because Android is built with Java. So every Android app, at the end of the day, runs on Java. So for you to compile an Android app, you need Java on your computer. Then Android Studio is the Android build tools. So yeah, Unity is the development engine. So it has all the environment for you to build in. But then once it's ready to export, it needs to have the native tools. So yeah, if you're gonna be building for both, like you said, yeah, you should have this stuff as well. You should have Android Studio and you should have Java JDK. And then that's pretty much all you need to build to Android.
These are emulators, but I don't have a Android phone, but then I want to try to maybe do that, so I can just get.
Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah,
So use that.
okay, but then I don't need all that stuff.
No, you don't. I'm just saying, like, if your platform of choice in this bootcamp is Android, you should have the Android set up. If you're just doing iOS, it's gonna be much simpler. If you just have a Mac, you just need Xcode and your Apple account, your Apple ID. That's pretty much it. Yep.
Sorry, for this screen, so we click on one of these and then,
So you're doing Android.
yeah.
So for when you're in the Java JDK, download the Windows x64 version.
Okay,
That's probably the one that you want.
gotcha.
But don't download it now because you're on my internet. Yeah, just have it. Are you on the Slack channel?
Yeah.
Or yeah. So I linked it on here. Hmm?
The
Oh, you can use the Ethernet too. I think it's fine. Just like these are big downloads. Android Studio is 2 gigs, for example. So same thing. Just
What's up with the router up there? Yeah.
yes.
Is there anything I should know about transferring my files from the the PC I'm working on at home to this Mac and bringing my stuff here? It's not the original project that I did for the intro lesson I found. When I put it on a flash drive and brought it here, it said a bunch of things were missing from my project, like it lost a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So the best way to export, like if you have a whole project that you want to just export, you can click like the top level. Oh, I can't see. Yeah, so just click in the assets around here somewhere. You right click, export package. And then here it'll give you a list of all of the objects that you want to, and then you export them and they come out as a Unity package. And then you can double click that in another project
So when
or in
I
another
drag
computer.
the scene straight into my
Yeah, so the scene itself, the scene file doesn't have,
scripts that I wrote.
no, it didn't, it's still on your computer. It didn't disappear.
But it didn't get.
Yeah.
But it didn't get like.
Yeah,
connected
the
together
scene
like
file doesn't. It needs all the other things too. Exactly. Another way is you could also just right-click, show in Explorer or whatever, find the folder where your project is, like VR Bootcamp 3, and you could just zip up that whole folder. And that's also a project.
Yeah,
for
I
example.
open assets and then drop the scene into my flash drive.
Yeah, it's this. It's because it's just the scene. The scene file is just like, whoa. Hey, I lost everything.
What?
Yeah, I think because
I didn't save.
I didn't save my scene. That's okay. So yeah, do that right now. Don't lose your scene. Control S or file, save scene. Save your scene. Now. Sorry guys. Save your scenes. Save your scenes. Save your scenes. Save your scene. File, save. So save project is the whole project. A project can have multiple scenes. So this current scene is everything that you have in here is a scene. Whereas a project can have multiple scenes. Think of the scene as like a level, kind of. But not always necessarily. You could use it in different ways. But just scene is like the current configuration of stuff that you have. Yeah, so I'll just do this real quick.
Closing the file, do you have to say the project is relevant?
You usually don't have to click the file save
I
project.
think when you save the scene, the whole project is saved.
I think so too, yeah.
Click save scene as, nothing comes up. That's that okay?
It should show you like a file browser thing. I'm not sure. No, there isn't. There might be an asset that does it. But yeah, Unity, you have to become a religious Control S presser. Yeah, it doesn't have like the auto save, auto backup stuff.
It takes 1/3 of the time the second time.
So I'll show you some other cool things. So,
Which the it's saying Xcode cannot be installed because OS X version 10.12 or later is required.
Oh, you need to update your.
so you can't.
Or you can install an older version of Xcode, maybe Xcode 8 or 7.
I don't know how that works exactly.
Go to Xcode older versions. Just Google Xcode older versions. They will have it listed. But the older versions like together like
Will still build iOS.
Yeah, so I saved it.
Yeah, it would, but like the older version of Xcode and the older version and the newer version of Unity doesn't work together. You know, if you have the latest version of Unity and you have like an old Xcode.
So speak to him in plain English then. What should he do?
Save my thing and then update my computer, am I gonna lose everything or no?
No.
Like,
No,
if
update
there's a
your
new
computer,
Mac
then it's
OS for your computer, then you should probably.
Just do that.
fine. Yeah.
But do you have any conflict with the software? Yeah, do you have any software that
I think you'll be fine.
Why would I have any software?
Usually when Mac just updated, like after Mac updated for like a week, the Unity is not compatible for like a week or two. You have to wait for a little bit for it. For
Really?
patches to be patched. I don't know about now.
So-
Okay, so I even need to offload that first.
I don't know.
You don't know.
So here's a-
experience this guy.
Here's another neat trick. So let's say our brick wall, for example, I want to add some more detail to it. I could do the thing I did before where I can make the normal map, and I just do that by just duplicating this brick texture and going in here, you know, do the same thing. Go to normal map, create from grayscale, make it not very bumpy, something like that. And then I put it down in here and I make it bumpy. I think it should be negative. Like, let me get the water. This pizza's catching in my throat. But yeah, say you want to add not just these normals, but say you want to add, like, if you kind of zoom in, you can see that it's starting to get pixelated. Maybe, you know, I want to add like some dirt or some extra, just whatever, just something when you come closer so it's not just pixelated like this. So what you can do is you can go on Google and you can download like something like a dirt texture. Or something like this wouldn't be too bad. Just grab a texture like this, for example. Something that you think would be an okay detail. You put it in Unity, and then you can take that texture and you can apply it all the way down here in the secondary maps. You can multiply textures and you can have double. See that? So I just doubled the amount of detail just by doing that. And I can tile this too, but it might not look so good like that. That's one way to do it. Yeah, I added a secondary map, so you can make like some more detailed stuff. You could also, maybe if your texture isn't necessarily like, maybe you don't want that kind of detail. Maybe you literally want like, like a dirt texture, like something tileable, meaning that it's like you can repeat it. So say, that was not bad.
And it's
None of
by
these
default
tile.
multiplying it?
Yeah, if you do it in a secondary map. I'm trying to see what, something like this, I guess. Yeah, so something that should tile. If I put it in here, and if I put it in the secondary maps, so it'll multiply it. But then if I tile that second one, something like a lot, like 10 by 10, 15 by 15. If I get closer, you see that now? Even when you're really close, look, this is without. See? That's with. So you have that little bit of extra. And then you could also take that second one, duplicate it, come back, make that into a normal map. And then you could take that and put it in the secondary normal map, and now you can have extra bumps. And now when you play with the smoothness and stuff, you could see that even on the brick there.
You put in two secondary maps?
Yeah, I put that, and then I put a normal map on the secondary map as well. See? See? Trippy. And you can really see it when you're kind of going through the sun like this. Once you have these normal maps and stuff, it'll look a lot better. And even if you get really close to something, it never runs out of detail, which is very important in VR. Because a lot of times you look at things close up in VR, you don't want it to look just like pixelated. So just for fun, because we have some extra time today, what we're gonna do now is, we're just gonna go a little bit of ahead with what we're gonna do tomorrow. So I want to show you how you can pull in a character into the scene very easily. So here's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna go to this website. It's called mixamo.com, and you need an account. It's an Adobe account. If you don't have one yet, make one. So go to mixamo.com and sign up for an account. So since I'm already signed in, I can just click on store right here. But yeah, just set up a Adobe account right now on Mixamo if you don't already have one. If you do, just log yourself in. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick our character or characters, but for now we're going to do one character that's going to be dancing in our VR music video. So this is going to be really fun. So yeah, so just get yourself over to Mixamo.